Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank the press for such short notice of attending today. This is a very unfortunate, disappointing day for the city. Unfortunately, at the time of the appointment of Assistant Chief Ray, we were unaware of information that's come to light that's of serious concern involving a time and attendance matter. And the reason why we had appointed Chief Ray a couple of weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago last Friday, was for operational consistency. Chief Ray and Chief Salzman, former Chief Salzman, had also recommended that the Assistant Chief assume command, as he's the second in command of the fire department. So for operational reasons, Chief Ray was the appropriate candidate, very qualified for the job accordingly. I also want to say that, like Chief Salzman, Chief Ray has an unblemished record and has been dedicated and worked very hard for this community, and I believe he's provided to its betterment as well. So it's very difficult for me to do this today, but I have no other alternative but to rescind Chief Ray's appointment to chief, and also be advised that I'm going to prefer disciplinary charges against Chief Ray. He will be suspended without pay indefinitely. He will have the right to a disciplinary hearing. And I've also referred the matter to the district attorney, Mr. Carnwright's office. I've had discussion with his office since Monday of this week. The district attorney also will not only continue the investigation of the chief and Assistant Chief Ray with respect to time and attendance, but also the scope is going to be broadened. And the district attorney, I'm going to ask to investigate time and attendance and overtime and equipment purchases for the entire department. There's no other alternative. The reason why we're doing this and we're taking such swift action is because the administration is committed and to be consistent with transparency and accountability. Additionally, we're doing this for reasons to ensure that those men and women in the fire department who are not responsible for this conduct, I want to thank all of you for working hard. And I apologize, okay, for the conduct of anyone who's acted inappropriately, okay, to tarnish your record of service. Because you all deserve a lot of credit. You work very hard. I know the morale is down, and I'm very disappointed, okay, with this situation. I also want to say that the rest of the city workforce doesn't deserve this clout. We have hardworking people in the police department. We have hardworking people in public works. We have hardworking people in City Hall. We have hardworking people in the water department. And the employees who work hard and give an honest day's pay and don't engage in such behavior, I'm sorry. And I hope your morale improves, and be advised, I do appreciate your hard contribution and work, and so does the public. And it's a shame, but for a few individuals in the fire department and one individual in the police department, the entire city workforce has a black eye, now has morale problems. That's unconscionable. It's not fair, and I know the public would join in with me to be able to distinguish those who do act inappropriately from those who are giving an honest day's pay and acting on the taxpayers' behalf. How did this happen? Well, it's unfortunate. It seems to be a culture. It seems to be a culture in city government, which for several years has existed and now become institutionalized. It's a pathology. It's a culture where some people have gained at the expense of others. It's a culture where there was no transparency and accountability or checks and balances with regard to time and attendance and overtime, where department heads police their own accruals and approve their own overtime, where other commanders in positions of authority did the same. All part of a culture which became a culture of entitlement for some, at the expense of the rest of the city workforce, at the expense of the people who they worked with every day, at the expense of the taxpayers. I'm just in disbelief. For several years, this culture has become worse and worse and worse because of no transparency, no accountability, no leadership from the mayor's office for several years, letting this happen. What we're going to do is, I've recommended Corp Counsel, and he's working on same, we're going to recommend to the council to adopt a whistleblower local law. Under state law, there is provision for a whistleblower. We want to do it at the local level to give further assistance to those when they see malfeasance, when they see wrongdoing, when they see corruption, when they see selfishness and greed in the workplace, which all affects the taxpayers. They can feel assured that they will have protection when they come to the mayor's office and they report such conduct on the part of their coworkers. I'm also going to suggest, and with the help of Corporation Counsel, we recommend the upgrading of our ethics policy. Now let me tell you, getting back to that culture, our controller, John Toohey, has for a number of years since his appointment made these recommendations to ensure transparency, to ensure accountability, to ensure that tax dollars are protected and that people get paid for an honest day's pay, or they get paid for an honestly submitted accrual, be it vacation or otherwise. Again, what's really difficult for me today is that both of these men, who are now in the hands of the district attorney, contributed probably between the two of them for almost 60 years to this community. Unblemished records. It's a shame, but unfortunately, I have no other alternative but to act in the manner that I am, to be consistent with transparency, accountability, and fairness, particularly when it comes to former Chief Salzman, so that it's not perceived that this is selective enforcement that I'm not going to tolerate. But I want to assure the public, at the conclusion of this investigation, with the DA's assistance and our controller, I'm pretty confident there might be some more doings over in the fire department that are questionable. And I'm going to spend, if I have to, the next 4 years, okay, with those handful of individuals who put a black eye on that entire great department. All you men and women who get up every day and you risk your lives and run into a burning building when we're running out the other door. And I want to thank you for that. And again, I want to apologize. I don't want anyone who works hard in that department to think this is against you. It's a small few of the people you work with. Just like we had one individual in the police department, okay, who blackened the entire department. So at this point, I'm open to questions from the media or anyone else for that matter concerning the situation.